Oh, look at you. You're smiling. You're glowing. You're walking around with your chest puffed out, wearing that ugly black and red jersey like it's high couture. You think you've escaped, don't you? You think just because Xabi Alonso descended from the heavens like a handsome Spanish deity and delivered the greatest statistical season in the history of German football, an undefeated Invincibles run, the DFB Pokal, the shedding of the Neverkusen moniker, that the pain is over. You poor delusional soul. Being a Bayer Leverkusen fan right now is actually worse than when you were losing. Why? Because before, you had the comfort of low expectations. You were the lovable losers, the perennial bridesmaids, the club that existed to bottle it at the last second. It was a comfortable misery. But now you have hope, now you have expectations. And let me tell you, the drop from the top of the mountain is a hell of a lot farther than the fall from the curb. Welcome to the new era of suffering. You aren't the underdog anymore, you're the target. You're the anomaly that the universe is currently trying to correct with extreme prejudice. Being a Leverkusen fan sucks because you are currently living in a state of constant high-functioning anxiety, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for Xabi to leave, waiting for Florian Wirtz to get bored, and waiting for the world to remember that you are, at your core, a pharmaceutical company's tax write-off. Let's break down the misery. 1. The plastic club. Imposter syndrome, the company man's burden. Imagine walking into a bar filled with hardened bikers. One has a scar from a knife fight. That's Dortmund. One is decked out in gold chains and is loudly buying everyone drinks while spitting on the floor. That's Bayern Munich. One is wearing a coal miner's helmet and weeping into a beer. That's Schalke. And then there's you. You're wearing a pressed polo shirt, holding a clipboard, and you just got dropped off by your dad, who owns the pharmaceutical factory next door. That is the existence of a Bayer Leverkusen fan. You can win the league, you can go 51 games unbeaten, but you will never ever escape the stigma of being a plastic club. While the rest of Germany prides itself on the sacred 50+1 rule, where the fans hold the majority voting rights, you exist on a special exemption because the chemicals giant Bayer has bankrolled you for over 20 years. You are the work self, the factory squad. It sucks because no matter how beautiful your football is, rival fans don't respect you. To them, you aren't a football club, you are a marketing expense for aspirin. When you win, the narrative isn't, "What a fairy tale story!" It's, "Well, I guess the corporate overlords approved an extra budget injection this quarter." You have zero street cred. Your stadium, the BayArena, holds 30,000 people. Dortmund puts 25,000 in just their standing section. When you celebrate a goal, the atmosphere doesn't sound like a roar, it sounds like a polite golf clap at a company retreat. And the worst part? You know they're kind of right. You look at your badge and you see the Bayer cross. You look at your history and it's inextricably linked to industrial output. You're cheering for a conglomerate. You aren't fighting for the soul of the city, you're fighting for the Q3 earnings report. It's a hollow existence that even a Meistershell can't fully fill. 2. The ghost of 2002 and the fear it's coming back. The horror movie that never ends. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the crying Michael Ballack in the room. You can shout Deutsche Meister 2024 all you want, but deep down in the lizard brain of every long-term Leverkusen fan, the trauma of 2002 is still pulsing like a fresh bruise. You don't just get over that. You don't just move on from the most spectacular collapse in the history of organised sports. For the uninitiated, or for those Leverkusen fans who have repressed this memory with heavy medication, let's recap the horror treble. In the span of roughly 2 weeks in May 2002, Leverkusen blew a 5-point lead in the Bundesliga to lose the title to Dortmund on the final day, lost the DFB Pokal final to Schalke, and then got volleyed into oblivion by Zinedine Zidane in the Champions League final against Real Madrid. You finished second in everything. You became the first club to achieve the treble of tears. Why does this still suck today? Because it created a DNA-level complex. Even during the 2023-24 unbeaten run, be honest, how many times did you think, "Here it comes, this is where we blow it"? Every time Karabag scored against you in the Europa League, every time you went down 2-0, you felt the cold hand of 2002 gripping your throat. The Neverkusen nickname might be dead to the media, but it lives in your head. You're constantly waiting for the reversion to the mean. You're like a lottery winner who keeps their job at the gas station because you're convinced the bank is going to call and say it was a clerical error. You can't enjoy the success because you are paralysed by the history of the failure. You're waiting for the ghosts of Ballack, Roberto, and Oliver Neuville to show up and tell you that the 2024 season was just a fever dream and you actually finished 5th. 3. The 2024-25 reality check. The magic is leaking. Welcome back to Earth. It sucks here. And here we are in the present day, the 2024-25 season. The party is over, the confetti has been swept up, and reality is hitting you in the face with a wet fish. The Invincibles aura? Gone. RB Leipzig shattered that streak in August and they did it in your own house, coming back from 2-0 down to beat you 3-2. Talk about irony. You were the ones who did the comebacks last year. You were the late Leverkusen kings who scored in the 97th minute. Now you're getting a taste of your own medicine, and it tastes like bitter regret. The defence, which was an impenetrable wall of granite last season, has suddenly decided to identify as a revolving door. Jonathan Tah looks distracted, probably thinking about his expiring contract and a move to Bayern. Tapsoba is making errors that would get you benched in Sunday League, and Mukiel is, well, he's trying. You are conceding goals for fun. In the first half of the 2024-25 season, you've dropped points to teams you should be dismantling. Draws against Holstein Kiel? Are you kidding me? You let a team that sounds like a type of yogurt hold you to a draw after leading 2-0? This is why it sucks right now. The regression. Last year, every 50-50 ball went your way. Every deflection went in. Schalke's long shots were laser-guided. This year, the variance is evening out. The black magic Xabi Alonso used has run out of mana. You're watching the same players do the same tactics, but it's just slightly worse. And that 5% drop-off is the difference between being legends and being fighting for 4th place. You're realising that maybe you aren't a dynasty. Maybe you were just a one-hit wonder who had the greatest year of your life, and now you have to go back to being a normal, frustrating football team. 4. The TikTok of the transfer time bomb, enjoying your girlfriend while she packs her bags. Being a Leverkusen fan right now feels exactly like dating someone way out of your league. You know, the kind of person who is smarter, richer, and significantly better looking than you. You wake up every morning, look at Xabi Alonso on the touchline, looking like he just stepped out of a Hugo Boss fragrance commercial, and you think, why is he still here? Deep down, you know the answer. He's just crashing on your couch until his real mansion is ready. This is the crushing anxiety of the Stepping Stone Club. You aren't a destination, you're an incubator. You know that Xabi isn't building a 10-year dynasty in North Rhine-Westphalia. He stayed for the 2024-25 season, which was a miracle, but every single match feels like a farewell tour. You are constantly reading the Spanish press with Google Translate, terrified of every headline linking him to Real Madrid. You watch Liverpool games not because you like them, but to see if Arne Slot is failing enough to open up the job again. And it's not just the manager, it's Florian Wirtz. Watching Wirtz play football is the greatest joy of your life. He glides across the pitch like he's wearing slippers, but every time he does something magical, a nutmeg, a 40-yard pass, a goal that makes you weep openly, a little part of you dies. Why? Because you can practically hear the checkbooks opening in Manchester, Madrid and Munich. You can't just enjoy a world-class performance, you have to calculate how much his transfer value just went up. You know he's gone. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You're basically raising a prodigy child just so he can go live with his rich stepdad the moment he turns 18. 5. The Bayern Munich feeding chain, the farm team for the Death Star. Speaking of rich stepdads, let's talk about the abusive relationship you have with Bayern Munich. If the Bundesliga is an ecosystem, you are the gazelle and Bayern is the lion. But they don't just kill you. They wait until you're at your absolute peak, the healthiest and strongest you've ever been, and then they eat you. It sucks to be a Leverkusen fan because your history is essentially a catalogue for Bayern's future squads. Michael Ballack? They took him. Roberto? Took him. Lucio? Took him. Robert Kovac? Yep. They looked at that 2002 team, said, "Nice squad you have there," and stripped it for parts like a stolen Honda Civic, and now the cycle is repeating. You spend years developing Jonathan Tah into a defensive monster, the anchor of your championship team, and what happens? He refuses to sign a new contract because the siren song of Bavaria is calling. He wants to go to the Allianz Arena to sit on a nicer bench and win his 15th league title in a row. It is a specific type of humiliation to beat Bayern to the title, humiliate them 3-0 in your own stadium, and still feel inferior. You know that financially you cannot compete. When Bayern wants something you have, they usually get it. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. Every time a Leverkusen player gets a call up to the German national team, you panic because you know Jamal Musiala and Joshua Kimmich are in that locker room, tapping up your boys, whispering about how nice the pretzels are in Munich. You are fighting a war against a team that has a GDP higher than some small countries, and your main weapon is friendship and vibes. Good luck with that. 6. The library in the industrial park. Atmosphere? We don't do that here. Let's be brutally honest about the BayArena. It's nice, it's clean, it has great Wi-Fi, the bratwurst is solid, but let's not pretend it's a cauldron of hate. Compared to the yellow wall in Dortmund, the absolute anarchy of Frankfurt, or the cult-like intensity of Union Berlin, a Leverkusen home game feels like a parent-teacher conference. It sucks because when you try to banter with rival fans, they hit you with the plastic card, and then they hit you with the empty seats card. And it hurts because you can see them on the TV broadcast. Even during the greatest season in the history of the club, getting tickets wasn't exactly the Hunger Games. The stadium holds 30,000 people. That is tiny for a top European club, and a significant portion of those seats are filled by people who look like they wandered in from a business meeting and are just checking their emails until halftime. When the team is struggling, the silence is deafening. You can hear the players shouting instructions to each other. You can hear Xabi Alonso's perfectly groomed beard bristling in the wind. There is no intimidation factor. Opposing teams love coming to Leverkusen. It's a lovely away day. Short travel, nice hotel, polite fans who won't throw batteries at you, and a pitch that is essentially a billiard table. You don't have a fortress, you have a well-maintained Airbnb. You crave the hostility of a proper traditional club, but instead, you're stuck in a pristine corporate bubble where the wildest chant is Bayer Bayer, repeated at a sensible volume. 7. The Neverkusen brand. A global meme you can't erase, haunted by your own Wikipedia page. You thought winning the double killed the meme, didn't you? You thought going undefeated erased the branding, but memes are like nuclear waste. They have a half-life of 1,000 years. The term Neverkusen, or Wirtz if you're speaking the native tongue of disappointment, is so deeply embedded in football culture that it has its own entry in dictionaries, literally. You are the global shorthand for choking. It sucks because even when you win, the narrative is framed around the absence of choking. The headlines weren't just Leverkusen wins, they were Leverkusen finally doesn't screw it up. Your identity is negative space. You're defined by what you didn't do for 30 years. Try explaining your fandom to a casual observer. Who do you support? Bayer Leverkusen. Oh, the team that always loses the final? Well, actually we just had an historic undefeated season. Yeah, but didn't you lose the Europa League final to Atalanta? Like getting blown out 3-0 by a guy named Lookman? And there it is, the dagger, the one loss. The only loss in 53 games, and it happened in a European final. That is the most Leverkusen thing to ever happen. You went on a god-tier run, captivated the world, made everyone believe in magic, and then in the one game where the entire continent was watching to crown you the undisputed kings of Europe, you forgot how to play football. You let Ademola Lookman, a guy who couldn't cut it at Everton, turn into prime Pelé for 90 minutes. That loss to Atalanta in Dublin is the ink stain on the wedding dress. It's the fly in the Chardonnay. It proves that the Neverkusen gene isn't dead, it's just dormant. It's waiting. And deep down you know that every rival fan was laughing their heads off thinking nature is healing. 8. The 50+1 hate train. You're the villain of German football culture. In Germany, football is a religion, and the 50+1 rule is the scripture. It dictates that members, fans, must hold the majority of voting rights in a club to prevent commercial takeovers. It's why German stadiums are full, tickets are cheap, and the beer flows like water. It is the moral high ground of the Bundesliga. And then there's you. Leverkusen, along with Wolfsburg, Hoffenheim, and the universally loathed RB Leipzig, is the exception to the rule. You're a corporate entity. You were founded by workers of the Bayer pharmaceutical company, yes, but today you are 100% owned by the corporation. This makes you the bad guy by default. Ultra groups across Germany despise you. When you travel away, you aren't greeted with friendly rivalry. You're greeted with banners protesting your very existence. You're seen as a symptom of modern football's disease. It sucks because you just want to support your local team. Maybe you grew up in Leverkusen. Maybe your dad worked at the plant. You didn't choose the corporate structure, but you have to wear it. You have to defend it in every argument. You have to endure the lectures from St. Pauli fans about authentic football culture while they sip their club mate. You are constantly in the shadow of this moral debate. You can't just talk about tactics or transfers. You have to justify why your club deserves to exist in the top flight. It's exhausting. It's like trying to enjoy a hamburger while a vegan screams at you about factory farming. You know they have a point, but you just want to eat your lunch in peace. 9. The curse of the small town mentality living in Cologne's shadow. Let's talk geography. Leverkusen isn't really a city. It's a parking lot for a chemical plant that accidentally got a zip code. It's sandwiched between Cologne and Dusseldorf, two actual cities with culture, nightlife and massive historic football clubs, FC Köln and Fortuna Düsseldorf. Being a Leverkusen fan means living in the shadow of your louder, drunker neighbours. FC Köln fans are everywhere. They are like glitter, you can't get rid of them. Even when Köln is getting relegated, which is their favourite hobby, their fans are partying, filling the stadium and making more noise in the second division than you do in the Champions League. It sucks because you are the successful sibling who nobody wants to hang out with. You're the accountant with the stable job and the trophy cabinet. They are the chaotic artist who crashes on couches and gets arrested, but everyone loves them. Leverkusen has no distinct identity outside of the factory. There's no bustling city centre filled with Leverkusen bars. The victory parade? It was great, sure, but it felt like a company picnic that got out of hand. You lack the chaotic, throbbing pulse of a metropolis. You're a commuter town club. People drive in, watch the game, and drive home to somewhere else. It's hard to build a tribal identity when your tribe lives in the suburbs of Cologne and tells people they support FC Köln, just to avoid an awkward conversation. 10. The constant fear of irrelevance. One bad season away from oblivion. Let's look at the precipice you're standing on. You are not Bayern Munich or Dortmund. If Bayern has a bad season, they finish second. If Dortmund has a bad season, they finish fourth. If you have a bad season, you flirt with the relegation zone. Don't forget how quickly things can turn. Just before Xabi Alonso arrived, you were sitting in the relegation zone. You were looking at 2. Bundesliga in the face. That is your reality. You don't have the too big to fail safety net. You don't have 80,000 members who will financially bail you out. You have a corporate budget that is contingent on performance. If Xabi leaves, if Wirtz leaves, if Frimpong and Grimaldo decide they're tired of the German rain, you are right back to being a mid-table side fighting for the Conference League. And that is a terrifying thought. You have tasted the nectar of the gods. You have seen what it's like to be the best team in the world for a calendar year. Going back to mediocrity now would be a fate worse than death. It sucks, because you know this golden era is fragile. It's a soap bubble. It's beautiful, it's shimmering, it's floating above everyone else, and it is going to pop. And when it does, the silence in the BayArena will be louder than ever. You're currently living in the good old days before they've even ended, pre-mourning the loss of a team that is still playing. That is a special kind of neurosis. 11. Final thoughts. The curse of the golden handcuffs. Why you'll never leave. So why do you do it? Why do you subject yourself to the ridicule, the plastic allegations, the Neverkusen trauma, and the constant anxiety of your best players leaving? Because of the drug. That unbeaten run. That 97th minute Josip Stanisic goal against Dortmund. That feeling of invincibility. It was the purest high in the history of sports, specifically because of all the suffering that came before it. You don't support Bayer Leverkusen because it's easy. You don't support them because it's cool. You support them because you are a masochist who got lucky once. You are trapped now. You can't leave. You've seen the promised land. You know it's possible. And that hope is going to keep you coming back to that small, polite stadium, sandwiched between a highway and a chemical reactor for the rest of your life. You will endure the jokes. You will endure the transfers to Bayern. You will endure the inevitable return to 4th place. Because for one brief shining moment, you are the centre of the universe, and you'll spend the rest of your life chasing that dragon, knowing full well it's probably never coming back. So yeah, you're basically rooting for a pharmaceutical receipt that plays football. But hey, at least the receipt sometimes wins a trophy before the ink fades. Subscribe for more pain. Perspective.